All right, welcome back, everybody, to another session. Today, I wanted to do kind of a layered dot effect. I've always wanted to have this floating dot effect that when you turn the bead, you can kind of see the foreground, midground, and background all moving, separately from each other. And the one thing I always really loved about glass is the fact that, depending on how you work it, you can see underneath, certain patterns. And that always fascinated me. So today I wanted to not only play around with these floating dots, but I also need to just de-stress and kind of just let myself go at the flame for a little bit. I've just been really stressed out lately. I do have classes running, which is great. So things are picking back up as I'm talking to you guys at this very moment. But I've been just really stressed out financially. So just one of those things that you have to deal with in life. And when you don't want to have to deal with anything, you go and you flame work and forget about all your problems. So I wanted to start this bead out like a nice, I wanted a big round bead. And so I want a nice long tubular bead to start out with. And it's going to match the height of the bead. So that's where I'm going to start with, is just finding the height of the bead and working on the background color, which is the oobleck green. I've kind of been obsessed with this color lately and I keep using it. I'm going to have to tear myself away from it at some point because I think a black background would have worked out great. However, I thought the corner of this wasn't very neat. So I just added a little tiny bit of stringer of the green there to straighten up the edge. But yeah, I really love this color. However, when you use a yellow next to like this color or the pea green, this color almost becomes yellow. It's a strange thing. And I kind of noticed that in another demonstration, how this color kind of goes more yellow than green, depending on, what colors you have next to it. Anyway, so my first layer, after I have rolled down my bead, make it look nice, I have a stringer of a coral red here. You could use any color, obviously, but I wanted to use some clashing colors. So I have this coral red stringer, and I'm just going to kind of carefully add some very small Swiss dots all over the main body of the piece. And it doesn't necessarily have to be in any pattern. I just kind of normally end up doing a pattern, a dot pattern, even if I'm, not really thinking about it. But if I think about it, then it doesn't have to be this perfect pattern. It can be kind of like dots all over the place, more in some area, more in another area. Some of these dots could be big, some could be small. So this is like a really great, not only dot practice piece, but also a really good piece for practicing encasement, because we're going to do a lot of encasement. I thought I needed to add a little bit more pattern and stretch it all the way out to the edge. So I'm going to add a little bit more here. And then we're going to get into the encasement. But first, I am going to want to just melt everything in nice and evenly. And I'll roll it on the marvering table as well. And while I'm doing that, yeah, I've been thinking a lot about kind of where my life went and how things ended up at the museum that I was working at. Because it really was like the dream job. It really was. I had such a good job. It was the best. And everything I could have asked for and more. But when we were working in the smaller shop, it was just me and the head of the department. And that was it. And that was it. That we ran the shop. But there was a moment like right before we had to, move over to the pavilion, and it was cool to watch this building being built across the street from the main museum. It was built by some Japanese architecture firm, and the whole building itself is made out of glass, except for the ceiling. So it's kind of interesting because when you walk up to it, you can see right through it. Although most of the time they have curtains pulled so you can't see through a whole bunch of different areas of it. But, there's a garden outside that surrounds the whole building. It's really beautiful. And I was able to go in to the site when they had the basement kind of working, and it was just this kind of a shell, and I was able to go in there with a group of people and kind of check it out. It was like the coolest feeling to be able to be in the bottom of this, what is going to be the jewel of the city, basically the glass pavilion. Anyway, before we moved in there, the gentleman that had hired me, he was moved into a different position. And I don't know, I just think that there was a lot of issues with him and the people that were trying to run our program from inside the museum. So there's always this detachment for me from the actual museum because I never worked inside of the museum itself. I always worked in the hot shop. And, it's like the people that worked in the museum, the upper people, they'd always kind of look down on us like, oh, those kids over there, those dirty glass kids, I mean, I guess we were, but, it was just a weird detachment that I had. And I really didn't know anybody that worked in the actual museum. I knew a few people, the person that ran the museum store. She was very nice, always really kind, and I was able to sell quite a bit of work in the store when I was working there and after I was working there. But that's another story. So, we watched the building being built, and then they moved my supervisor, the head of the department, the head of the glass studio. They moved him into a whole different position that was, kind of meant to move him out, but also meant to, maybe make him feel better because the title of the position was something like Master Glassblower Instructor, something like that. So he was no longer, my boss when we moved into the new building. And before we moved in there, another person moved into as the head of the studio. And this person was very nice, excellent artist, but knew nothing about glass. And I always thought it was really strange that you would have somebody run a glass studio who didn't know anything about the process, the equipment, the nothing. But he was a nice guy, and he, did his research, and he did his best to, keep everybody together and keep the program running. And he was the one that moved into the main pavilion with us. And also, before we moved into that building, he also had to hire a whole bunch of people. And, I've had experience working with bigger groups of people in my past, like, working at a bookshop when I was in college, things like that. But I don't really work well with people, I guess. And I just, maybe it's me. I always wonder, it must be me. It's got to be me, my personality. Maybe I'm too, I don't know, too abrasive. People are intimidated by me, maybe. I'm not sure. But anyway, so he hires all these people, like about 10 other artists, some glass artists, some not, some people who, never blew glass, so, it was a whole group of studio techs, basically. And we all moved into the glass pavilion together. And moving into that building was amazing. It was just like visually the most pleasing building I've ever worked in. It was just so beautiful. And there was a cafe in there, and my drink was always an iced caramel latte. Ooh, my favorite drink. And I was the one who was like the head tech and also a teacher. So my job was kind of different from everybody else's. And that's also something that singled me out because I taught as well as, I had different privileges from everybody else. But I was the one that came in the mornings and turned everything on, cleaned up the studio, and, welcomed the people who were renting time from us, and also doing live demos for audiences that would come in a couple times a day. And everything seemed to be going okay at first. It was exciting. It was so different for me. It was like, wow, this is, I feel so honored to be here. Anyway, so the opening day comes around for the glass pavilion, and I'm telling you guys, I was just terrified. There was like a line of like hundreds of people waiting to get into the building on the opening day. The whole opening week was just insane, full of people. The hot shop would hold maybe 50 people, and oh my gosh, and then you try to shove more people in there. I mean, it was crazy. It was crazy. A lot of fun. I did, however, feel kind of like, I felt like I was there for entertainment purposes as well, which I was. I was there to entertain the crowd and not only teach, but to talk to them about the process of blowing glass while making a piece of glass. And I don't know if I ever really got used to that, because I would always feel like, oh my gosh, I'm just going to puke before I have to get out there and stand in front of all these people and introduce myself and everything. But it was cool. I got used to it after, I guess. I say I didn't get used to it. But, it's just one of those things you just have to go through the motions. And so, yeah, the first couple of years we were there, it was pretty interesting. Beautiful, like I said, a beautiful setting. But the hot shop itself, we had a lot of renters. The time was full. Everybody was coming in and renting time. And, there was no... Here's the weird thing. Okay, the hot shop was around the corner from the main big hot shop. There was 2 hot shops in there. One was for audiences and viewers and visitors. And the other one that was around the corner was only for people who rented time. And it was a glass building. So you have to think that you are blowing glass in the corner of a building that is very long and narrow. And behind you are 2 really thick walls of glass, like 2-inch thick. And in between those walls of glass is like the air chamber, okay, and a floating curtain that you can pull. And the sun, I'm telling you guys, the sun would come in there and we would just bake. And, when the museum was first opened, there was this air conditioning whole system that came up from the ground, which I thought was kind of weird because glass is always like so dirty. The floor is always so dirty in a hot shop, right? You got, powders, fumes, just stuff all in the air. And, I think I'm almost done with this bead, you guys. I am about to finish up here. I'm going to do another layer of purple dots, and then we'll finish up. So let me finish my story real quick. There was like these air vents that were behind the benches where you blew glass. So you had this nice cool air hitting your back. Well, after about 2 years, I'm assuming that either, well, A, the whole way everything worked shut down, or B, it was costing a ton of money to cool the hot shop. And all of a sudden, it was no longer cool anymore. And it just got hotter and hotter. And over the years, it would just be like we were in an oven cooking. There was not a door you could open. There was not a window you could open. So we had these fans, and the fans were just so loud, and it's just churning around hot air. So it would just be sweltering in there. And that was kind of part of my downfall of blowing glass in a studio situation, because that studio, for me, was not a good environment to blow glass in. It was hot. I mean, there were times where you felt like you were going to pass out. It was just, like I said, for me, it was a downhill spiral. But, we had a lot of years where we blew glass in there, and we made a whole series of like glasses and bowls that had this very unique confetti mix that only we made with Marini and crushed up Marini cane. And we sold just thousands of those. I can't tell you, I can blow a glass in my sleep, you guys. I still can. But after, jump into, after I left the museum, I had a privileged position there. I was, like I said, I was the head tech, and I was also a teacher. And there was a whole bunch of things that happened when we first moved in. Like, there was this uprise of all the techs, and all of a sudden we found ourselves joining the union of the museum workers, which was crazy. And that really kind of put a thorn in the side of the people who were running the museum. They were very angry. They didn't want any of us. They were going to fire every single one of us if we decided to be in the union, kind of a thing. It was crazy. But we weren't being treated well, I think, by the people who were running the museum. The problem is nobody ever came over and checked on us, and nobody really knew what was going on over there. Even though we were in a new museum, they wanted everything to always be perceived as perfect all the time. And it just wasn't. It was kind of breaking down, especially when it came to the director's position. Anyway, I got some schmutz on my glass there, so I'm just casting it off on the end of my mandrel and continuing to do my final glass encasement here, and then we will melt it all in. What else? What else do I want to say? So yeah, working with a group of people. I mean, some of these people I got along with great, and it was mostly the guys. For some reason, I must not get along well with women. I've always tried to have women friends. My mom has always had women friends and has always told me, nothing better than having a best girlfriend. And honestly, I've only had one that ever stuck around with me. Her name is Ashley White, and we met in Texas, and we've been close friends ever since. The only friend I still have from those days. And the only girlfriend that I've ever had that never let me down. But gosh, some of the people that I worked with, some of these women were just like, I'm sorry if I have had all this glass blowing training, but there's no reason to be jealous of somebody who might have a little bit better skills than you do. That's always irked me. I've always been very humble about my skills and, the people that I've worked with and what I make and what I know. And I've always been able to freely share my knowledge. But there are some people, I guess, who just don't want you to succeed. And I met a handful of women at the museum who just did not want me to succeed. Like, just trying to make my life really hard. So everything changed in that glass pavilion. All of a sudden, it's like not just me and one other person who get along great running the show. It's, a whole group of people now. And not only that, we're like, everybody in the main building, the main museum is watching us like a hawk too. So it's just really uncomfortable. The situation just got worse and worse over time. But I'll continue that journey. I'll continue this segment in the next session. I'll talk about just like there's just so much. It's just crazy. It's just crazy to think about it, because I have to write everything down that I want to tell you guys, and then as I'm talking about it, I think about different things as well that happened, because the director that was there, he did not last very long. He ended up almost suing the museum. He made a fake museum website and gossiped about all the stuff that was happening in the museum that wasn't good, and people's relationships, and somebody sleeping with somebody, and all this stuff. And then he got fired, and then this new lady came in. And the new lady, here's the end of my bead, you guys. We'll talk about it next time, okay? I'm going to give this the final heat. And what am I doing here? Am I going to give it one more coating of clear? Maybe I am. And then that'll give me a second to talk about this lady. Yeah, I'm going to give it one more coating here just to really make the dots, make that really cool three-dimensional look. So then the next director was this woman, and she was the intermediate director, of the glass. And she had come over from the main building, and she was one of the ladies who, puts on all the shows and stuff. And anyway, God, this woman, you couldn't be any snobbier. I mean, like, her shit did not stink. I mean, anytime I tried to talk to her, it was like she was looking down on me like I was just dirt under her feet. They made me move offices, and I felt like moving out of my office kind of pushed me out of a space that I didn't. I'm like, well, I need an office to work in because I got other stuff to do. Well, tough shit. You gotta get out. So I moved all my stuff out, and I'm a very sensitive person, and I cry a lot. I have depression, and not that that's my excuse, but I do have I'm just very sensitive. So was in this back room of the basement crying, and she walks up to me and she starts giving me the what for, like the lady in Alaska, you got problems, you got issues, and then she hands me, I want to see you in my office, kind of a thing, like the principal of a preschool. I want to see you in my office. And I go in her office. I'm like, yeah, what's going on? Oh, I just wanted to give you this card. And it was a psychologist card, like, go see the shrink, you need mental help. Well, you know what? Don't we all? Cannot people, just have just a common courtesy and just respect for other people, and just be a nice person. That's really all I ever wanted, is to work with nice people. But you can't, you know what they say, shit in one hand, wish in the other, and see which one fills up first. So it ended up being just a string of not good managers in that studio. By the time I left, the manager that was there, he was on his way out as well. But anyway, that's another story for another day. And I actually feel a lot better telling some of that story. I feel like I've gotten some stuff off my chest. Anyway, you guys, I do dwell on this stuff. It's been since 2013, and I'm still harboring much ill feelings, but I can't it's hard for me because I can't get mad at a building. But I've never been back since. Anyway, so this is the end of the bead. And I hope you enjoy this one. I just really needed, to be able to add dots and swipe some clear on there and just feel good playing with glass today. And I hope you enjoyed watching this one as well as hearing my story. Let me know what you think about this one. I'm not sure about that base color, but I do like how the shadows hit the base with the light on it. All right, you guys. I hope to see you all next time in the dungeon.